The mountains drowned in fog. 8 SEALs pinned by unseen snipers 2,000 meters away. No one could reach them. Then she stepped out of the mist, Staff Sergeant Aria Caldwell. 68 hours alone in hostile mountains. A rifle built for the impossible. And a voice that cut through chaos. I've got the distance. 3 shots. 3 kills. All beyond 2,000 meters. But when she made the shot at 2,732, she awakened another ghost, a sniper with a mirror. Watching, waiting. Before we begin, tell us, where are you watching from? And if you believe honor and courage still matter, help keep their legacy alive. The mountains were drowning in fog. Wind scraped along the ridgeline, carrying the smell of metal and rain. Staff Sergeant Aria Caldwell had been up here for 68 hours. Alone, tracking shapes that never stayed still. Her mission was simple on paper: watch, report, never engage. But nothing in Blackhorn Range ever stayed simple. Below her, in the gray wash of Talon Vale, 8 members of Task Element Cormorant 8 were pinned behind rock and shale. Their radios hissed with static and panic. Enemy shooters, North Ridge Range 1940. We can't see a thing. Aria froze, listening. They were less than 2 clicks away. She wasn't supposed to intervene. Her orders were compartmented. Even Cormorant 8 didn't know she existed. But that rule was already bleeding out through the fog. A calm voice came through the team's channel. Enemies at 1940. That's beyond our reach. The lieutenant sounded tired, desperate, half buried in stone dust. Aria stood, pulling the hood tighter around her jaw. The fog thinned enough to show the ridge below. She could hear ricochets smacking stone, counting the rhythm like a heartbeat. She slung her .338 Shadow Magnum across her shoulder and began to descend. Each step was deliberate weight on the heel, then toe, no sound. Visibility was less than 30 meters. Perfect cover. The SEALs didn't see her until she was 20 yards out. A shape walked straight out of the mist, slim, calm, carrying a rifle that looked too big for her. One of them raised his weapon, unsure. Aria ignored him. She knelt beside a flat rock, locked her bipod, and spoke for the first time. I've got the distance. Silence. Then disbelief. Who the hell are you? Someone asked. Aria's voice stayed level. Independent Overwatch element. Stay down for 15 minutes. No movement. No return fire. The lieutenant hesitated, but the way she handled the rifle, smooth, efficient, told him she wasn't guessing. He gave the signal hold position. Aria flattened behind the rock, eyes through the scope. The fog opened and closed like a breathing lung. Every break in the haze revealed a new contour, a new ghost of motion. She ranged the first flash of muzzle 2010 meters. Wind out of the west, 12 knots. Hold 7.4 mils right, 38.2 elevation. Her breathing slowed until she could feel the pulse in her cheek, a soft squeeze. The rifle cracked once short, heavy, final. 3 seconds later, the far ridge bloomed with dust. Target down. Aria stayed in the scope, searching for movement. Another glint, higher. The enemy had shifted to a second nest 2090 meters. They thought the fog made them invisible. She adjusted without speaking. Second shot, same calm breath, same stillness. Another 3-second silence. Then a fall of stone and a shape collapsing backward. 2 impacts, she murmured into the radio. North Ridge neutralized. No one replied for a moment. Then a hushed voice confirmed. Both shooters down. Through the shifting gray, the SEALs stared at her like she was something unreal. She didn't look back. She was already scanning higher ground. That's when she saw it, a flicker of light. Far west. Not muzzle flash. Reflection. A heliograph signal. Someone was watching her. Aria's jaw tightened. She slid back 10 meters, found darker rock, and let the fog swallow her again. Whoever it was, they were good too precise to be random militia. Down below, the SEAL lieutenant's voice steadied. We've got a path forward, but we're still locked down by tower fire at the compound. Aria's scope shifted, mapping the terrain in seconds. 3 threats, she said. East tower, main roof gun, western trench, Ranges between 1380 and 1560. The lieutenant blinked. You can hit those 3 shots. 55 seconds. She started building her solutions before he could argue. Wind, slope, drop all math, nothing mystical. Her hands moved faster than thought, feeding numbers into muscle memory. Below, the fog began to rise again, curling up the slope like smoke. In less than a minute, visibility would vanish. It was time. She settled into prone, eye to scope, crosshairs steady on the tower guard's chest. The lieutenant whispered into comms, "On your mark." Aria exhaled, voice low. "Mark." The rifle thundered once, then again, and again. 3 sharp echoes rolled down the valley. The tower went dark. The gunner on the roof folded over his weapon. Men in the western pit scattered. One dropped before he hit the ground. "Tower clear," Aria said. "Machine gun neutralized. Western trench disrupted." The lieutenant didn't waste a second. Cormorant 8 move. As they pushed downhill, Aria stayed motionless, covering every window, every roofline. Through the scope, she caught the faintest shimmer again. That same western flicker. Someone else was out there, patient, watching her line of sight. The fog thickened, swallowing the mountains whole. Aria ejected the spent casing and whispered to herself, "Your move, whoever you are." The echoes of her last shot still rolled through Talon Vale. Aria stayed in the scope, watching the fog twist over the bodies she couldn't quite see. Down below, Cormorant 8 was moving fast, disciplined, shadows cutting through the mist. She tracked their approach from elevation. Every 30 seconds, she shifted to a new firing point, careful not to pattern her shots. The fog muffled everything except the soft click of her bolt cycling forward. A voice came through comms. "Lower now. Overwatch, we're 200 meters from the outer wall." "Copy," Aria said. "Maintain movement. I've got eyes." A flash blinked from the compound roof, a gunner swinging his heavy weapon toward the team. Aria didn't think. One clean pull, one hit. The muzzle flash died before the burst began. Another figure sprinted toward the fallen gun, trying to recover it. He dropped mid-step, a single round catching him center chest. Her trigger rhythm was precise, not rage, just control. The lieutenant's voice came through again, breathless now. "RPG on northern roof. We're exposed." Aria rolled left, found the target, a silhouette lifting the launcher. Range 1628 meters. She didn't bother with math this time. Wind felt steady. Drift minimal squeeze. Recoil. Silence. The RPG carrier toppled backward before he could fire. "Threat neutralized," she said. "Continue your push." No one replied. They were too busy running for their lives. Then static. The comms warped into a hiss. Then a voice. Almost right, but not. "Cormorant 8. Fall back. Repeat. Fall back to ridgeline." Aria frowned. The call sign sounded correct, but the authentication code at the end was missing 2 characters. She froze. Checked her channel. The encryption light flickered amber instead of green. A fake order. Someone was jamming them, injecting messages. She switched frequency and keyed in directly to the lieutenant. "Do not fall back. That transmission is compromised." A pause. Then his reply, short and tight. Acknowledged. Whoever was behind it was organized, not local militia. A spark hit the rock beside her cheek, sharp and hot. Dust sprayed across her optics. Aria ducked, instinct taking over counter-sniper fire. The angle was clean. Whoever it was, they'd found her reflection. She crawled sideways, boots silent, moving 30 meters toward darker stone. Another round cracked where she'd been seconds ago. She exhaled slowly. "So you see me?" A glint to the west heliograph again. Deliberate this time. The counter-sniper was sending a message, baiting her to reveal position. She refused to bite. Instead, she lowered the rifle, pretending to relocate, but stayed behind cover, scanning for the flash pattern. It repeated twice, a professional rhythm someone trained. Then, nothing. The signal vanished into fog, and the silence felt heavier than gunfire. She knew the type of patient hunter, whoever he was. He'd wait, down in the valley. Cormorant 8 breached the outer wall. She shifted back to overwatch. watching their progress through the compound's maze of rooftops. The battle noise faded into short, sharp bursts, door breaches, shouts, clearing calls. "Overwatch! Compound entry achieved," came the lieutenant's voice. "HVT not located. Only secondary targets inside." Aria felt her chest tighten. "Say again. We've got equipment, documents, weapon stockpiles, but no primary." Her eyes moved across the map overlay, piecing it together. It wasn't the headquarters, just a staging point. She swept her scope westward, past the compound walls, across the broken ridgeline. Somewhere out there, the real command cell was watching this fight unfold. Her gut told her it was the same hand behind the false transmission. "Griffin Base, this is Overwatch." She transmitted, "Compound clear. HVT not present. Possible decoy operation." Colonel Mason Kittredge came online. Voice steady but clipped. "Confirmed. Intelligence just updated. Actual target confirmed to appear tomorrow, 12:10 hours local, at secondary site in Red Hollow Basin." Aria noted the coordinates. That basin lay almost 3 kilometers east, surrounded by cliffs and impossible range for most shooters. But there was one elevated point with a narrow window, a ledge above Blackhorn's west face. "Distance?" she asked. Kittredge hesitated. 2,700 plus. That's edge of feasibility. Aria adjusted her pack strap. "I'll make it feasible." He didn't argue. "Helicopter insertion 0600. You'll have 6 hours to prep firing solution. Wind data will be minimal." "Understood," she replied. Before signing off, Kittredge added one last thing. "Be advised, whoever spoofed our comms may still be active. Expect interference." Aria glanced toward the west, where the last flash had appeared. Fog had swallowed the ridges again. The mountains looked calm, indifferent, hiding everything. She whispered to the static, "Then let's see who hunts who." Behind her, the wind shifted direction, colder now. Somewhere out there, another rifle weighted the man with the mirror, and for the first time, Aria smiled beneath her breath. Tomorrow, they'd both have the same target. The helicopter hovered just long enough for her boots to hit the stone. 9,000 feet above sea level. The air was thin and sharp, biting through her gloves. Aria Caldwell crouched, steadying her pack before signaling the pilot to pull away. The rotor wash faded, replaced by the deep hum of the mountains. Silence except for wind whispering through broken shale. She had 6 hours to prepare for a shot that most people would call impossible. The target compound sat in Red Hollow Basin, nearly 3 kilometers away. At that distance, even a breath of wind could push a bullet off by 10 feet. Aria unrolled her map, marking the only viable shot corridor, a narrow window between 2 jagged ridges. She worked methodically. Wind ladder every 500 meters. Low-tier currents pulled left, mid-tier neutral. High-tier drifted right, a twisted crosswind. The math wasn't the hard part. It was patience reading how the mountain breathed, how the fog pulsed and thinned with time. Her rifle's barrel matched the air temperature exactly. Any thermal shimmer would expose her. By late morning, the valley below began to wake. Through her scope, she saw small trucks, figures moving crates, and 3 civilian workers sweeping dust from the courtyard. She waited. Collateral wasn't an option. At 11:50, command came online. "Overwatch. Status." Aria's voice was calm. "Position established. Visual on compound. Awaiting target appearance. Copy. HVT expected at 12:10. You are weapons free on positive ID. Understood." She closed the channel and shifted her focus. At 12:03, silhouettes appeared in the courtyard. Through max magnification, they looked like insects crawling across sand. One figure at the center matched the file photo, same height, same posture, same dark jacket. Then she noticed a watch on the wrong wrist. The man in the photo wore it left. This one wore it right. Her pulse slowed instead of rising. Body double. She scanned the convoy again. 2 SUVs idled near the entrance, one half covered by a canvas sheet. Through the narrow gap, she saw movement, a man adjusting his sleeve, favoring his left arm. The real target. She shifted aim by 8 degrees, recalculating wind. Distance to Newmark 2,732 meters. Angle -6 degrees downhill. A faint glint flashed on a ridge to her west, not from the compound, but higher up. A heliograph signal. Warden. He'd found her again. Aria adjusted her scope slightly, making herself invisible against the stone. He was trying to bait her, force her to fire first, so he could track her muzzle flash. She waited him out. 5 minutes. Nothing moved but air. Then, at 12:10, the HVT stepped into the open, surrounded by 2 guards. She locked in her holdover, 76.4 elevation, 12.1 windage, plus adjustment for the thin air. The bullet would fly for over 4 seconds. If the wind changed once, it would all be over. A small vibration ran through her bipod. One leg had slipped slightly on the slick rock. Aria corrected it with a flick of her wrist. Heart rate never climbing. Her breathing fell to a slow rhythm. Inhale. Half exhale. Pause. Through her scope, she could see the target tilt his head, talking to someone out of frame. This was the window. She pressed the trigger. The recoil was gentle, the sound flattened by the mountain. She stayed perfectly still, tracking the vapor trail through the heat shimmer. 4 seconds felt like a lifetime. She counted them silently, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the man collapsed. The 2 guards spun around, shouting, looking everywhere except where she was. "Granite Base, this is Overwatch," she transmitted softly. "Target down. Range 2732 meters. Single round." The radio went silent for 3 heartbeats. Then Colonel Kittredge's voice say again, "Confirmed kill. 2732. Verified. Understood. Extraction inbound. Outstanding work. Missed." Aria exhaled. For the first time in hours, a flash erupted where Warden had been a muzzle brake catching sunlight. She rolled left instinctively as a round cracked past her ear. Rock shattered, spraying fragments across her sleeve. He'd taken the shot late, almost blind, chasing her vapor trail. Aria crawled 30 meters downslope, dragging her rifle through the fog. She could feel the air currents bending around her, masking her escape. No return shot came. Warden had gone quiet, either repositioning or fading into the mist, just as she had. They both knew this wasn't over. The extraction chopper's rotor wash reached her minutes later. She slung her rifle, eyes still on the western ridge. Somewhere out there, her ghost twin was already moving to higher ground. "Target neutralized," she repeated, climbing aboard. The door closed. The valley disappeared beneath the fog, and the hunter she hadn't killed was still watching. Waiting for round 2, the helicopter dipped over the ridgeline, slicing through ribbons of fog. Aria sat near the open door, helmet off, wind tearing through her hair. Below, Red Hollow Basin vanished into pale distance, a ghost erased by morning light. She hadn't spoken since the shot. 11 hours awake, 6 of them in silence. Her body still tuned for combat. The crew chief glanced at her rifle, still cradled across her knees. "That's the one." "Huh," he said quietly. Aria didn't look up. "It's not the rifle that matters." The man nodded and said nothing else. At FOB's Sable Ridge, command tents glowed with generator light. When she stepped off the chopper, Colonel Mason Kittredge was already waiting. His tone was clipped. Professional, but his eyes betrayed awe. "Confirmed range?" he asked. 2732 meters, verified twice. He exhaled, shaking his head. "You just moved the goalposts for every sniper in the world." They walked together toward the operations tent. Inside, a small crowd of analysts stood around a monitor replaying satellite footage the moment the HVT fell. The entire compound had frozen mid-motion, unaware where death had come from. Kittredge handed her a sealed envelope. "General Helena Cross is en route from CENTCOM. She asked to meet you personally." Aria frowned slightly. "That's unnecessary." He smiled. "It's not about ceremony. She wants to understand how you did it." Aria only said, "discipline," and math. That seemed to end the conversation. When General Cross arrived, the base fell silent. She was smaller than Aria expected, her voice quiet but absolute. "I read the report," she said, stepping into the briefing room. 40 seconds between visual and shot. Perfect execution. Aria stood at attention. Ma'am. Cross studied her like a scientist examining a rare artifact. Do you realize that distance exceeds the standing record by nearly 500 meters? I didn't think about records, Aria said. Just wind. That made the general smile. That's why you hit? She reached into her pocket and produced a bronze medal and a promotion order. Effective immediately. Sergeant First Class Caldwell. Bronze star with valor. Cross pinned the medal to her jacket herself. No speeches, she said softly. You earned silence. The room applauded briefly. Aria's face didn't change. She saluted, then stepped outside into the cold. Awards never mattered, only the margin between failure and survival. Later that evening, Kittredge found her sitting on a supply crate near the runway. She was cleaning her rifle. Movement slow, mechanical. He handed her a folder, thick and sealed with red tape. The jamming source, he said. She opened it. Inside were 3 photos, a transmission relay, a maintenance truck, and a logo Greyline Systems, a civilian contractor working under a communications subcontract. They spoofed our signal, he said. Sent that fake fallback order during your support run. Aria flipped through the pages. Who gave them access? We don't know yet, Kittredge said. But someone sold our encryption key. It wasn't random interference. Aria closed the folder. So the shot wasn't the end of it. Not even close. He hesitated before continuing. Command wants you to head up a new cell. Long-range precision off-roster. We're calling it Fog Cell. Aria raised an eyebrow. Cute name. It fits, he said. You appear, fix the problem, disappear again, no paperwork. Aria smiled faintly, though her eyes stayed cold. I'll take it under one condition. No public credit. Ever. Agreed. He extended a hand. She shook it once. Firm. The unspoken deal hung between them. She'd vanish back into the gray where she belonged. The next morning, before departure. Cormorant 8 found her near the helipad. The lieutenant approached first, helmet tucked under one arm. Sergeant Caldwell, he said. You saved all 8 of us. There's not much more to add. She looked at him, almost embarrassed. Just doing my job. He grinned. Yeah. But the rest of us are going to be chasing that job for the rest of our careers. One of the younger operators, the one who'd first doubted her, spoke up. Ma'am, they're saying you made that shot at 2.7 clicks. Is that real? Aria locked her case? Standing? It's real enough. They watched her walk toward the helicopter, metal still glinting faintly on her chest. No goodbye, no salute, just a nod before the blades started turning. Within seconds, she was airborne, swallowed by distance and rising fog. From the sky, Blackhorn Range looked peaceful, a quilt of stone and silence. Then her radio blinked once, an unexpected signal spike on a private frequency. Same format as the false transmission, except one letter in the code was changed. She stared at it, half smiling. Still out there. Aren't you? She whispered. The ridgelines rolled below. Endless, waiting for the next move. Aria switched the radio to standby and pulled her cap low. Mist was gone again, back into the silence where she belonged. But somewhere beyond those mountains, Warden was watching, planning, and waiting for the wind to shift. If you enjoyed the story, consider sending a super chat to help bring more stories like this. Now, click on the video on the screen to hear another story that's just as powerful and captivating, with courage, sacrifice, and a choice that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about duty and justice.